they were given the score on the football game. We were 38,000 feet in the air. And they're telling us about Green Bay and the Bears. Right behind that is the Jets. And it occurred to me that if people can sit and watch football all day, how could folk that claim they're going to heaven complain about having church all day just once a year? What he has done here, we ought to be doing all over America. People are locked to their TV, watching a game that they will not benefit from. Won't gain nothing but a little recreational satisfaction. Watching millionaires run them down the court. When the game is over, you still won't be broke. You still gonna have problem health care. They're going to get paid. You got the beer, drunk, and busted. And then when a man of God said, let's have Super Sunday, he said, why are we going to stay in church all day? For God that does everything for us. I think this concept is something that we ought to nationalize. Because what you're doing is something, especially in these times, that we need to do. I was in North the other night, killings everywhere. There was a time that we had to worry in our community about the killings from the outside. Now we have killings on the inside. When you look at the crime and the murder and the lack of morality, if the church can't shut down and have prayer and worship all day, then who gonna do it? Oh, let me get right into Memphis. Right here in Memphis. All over the country, they talk about a high school in Memphis. Where 11% of the students are pregnant or had a baby already this semester. And you wonder why you ought to be in church all day? You ought to be here with your daughter all day long. Yep. We watch that on the news and act like that has nothing to do with us. It is our job to deal with what is going on in our time. Everybody in the Bible are there because they did God's work in the time in which they lived. Nobody in the Bible just praised and worshiped, but they praised and worshiped to go out and do some work. Probably a lot of us, as we built churches for the title with no function. Everybody knows people give me their title, but can't tell me what they do. We have too many ministers that don't minister to nobody. We have too many missionaries with no mission. Too many trustees that can't be trusted.
Wow. Lord.
God ain't going to judge you by what you call yourself. He's going to judge you by what you do. And if you do what God calls you to do, you don't need a title. Like Pastor Weber said, your work will make room for you. You ain't have to give a servant a title, let the servant serve. Because at the end, whatever it is that you do is the only thing that will matter. I tell you something, the hardest job of a preacher is to preach the funeral of somebody that never did anything.
Exactly.
That's a hard job. I mean, you ought to think about it. If you died right now, what could we say? Most of us haven't done nothing. Most folks shouldn't even have a funeral. to go straight from the mall to the cemetery. But most folks haven't done nothing for nobody but themselves. Got them a nice house. Well, we'll stay at your house 2 days after you go. Got them a new car. We'll ride all over town in your car. The only thing that will matter 2 minutes after you're gone is what you've done for more than yourself. I saw Pastor Smith in the office. I spoke at Michael Jackson's funeral and did the eulogy at his burial. And I'll never forget when we were coming out the cemetery that night, a very well-known artist. I won't call his name, y'all got press here. He stopped me coming out the cemetery. And he said to me, Reverend Al, I said, yes. He said, I was really touched by your eulogy. I said, thank you. He said, no, it really got to me. I said, thank you. He said, and I want you to know if I die first, I want you to give me a eulogy just like that. I said, well, you might give me something to work with. Many of us don't realize that God expects all of us to do some work. The Bible said the harvest is right, but the laborers are few. And a lot of us do show and tell religion, but don't do no work. You know what I mean, show and tell. Service starts at 9:30. You show up at 9:50 and stroll down the aisle like it's a fashion show. Everybody see what you got on, rather than the work you do. We need the work, and our work is what we be rewarded for. Let me tell you, let's turn to the book. Let's go to the book of Exodus. 8th chapter. Beginning at the 8th verse. Exodus 8 and 8. Read, then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, entreat the Lord that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people. And I will let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord. Moses said unto Pharaoh, glory over me. When shall I entreat thee, and for thy servants and for thy people, to destroy the frogs from thee and thy house, that they may remain in the river only? And he said, tomorrow. And he said, be it according to thy word, that thou might know that there is none like unto the Lord our God. And the frogs shall depart from thee, and from thy houses, and from thy servants, and from thy people. They shall remain in the river only. And Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried unto the Lord because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. May God add a blessing to the reading of his word. Amen. I want to use for a thought tonight one more night with the frogs. One more night with the frogs. All right. January of